No.
I've got a question too. Do we have any houses in our neighborhood that have been, bought back by FEMA or not gonna be rebuildable in that area?
They haven't decided on one yet.
Well, if I can, I apologize for being late. That traffic.
This is Doug Hewett, our city manager.
Yes, thank you. And I had to go over to Bojangles and pick up the fried turkey. So I will stop by City Hall tomorrow and you can get a slice. We've got our Christmas party. Again, apologies for being late. I'm not sure which neighborhood you live in, though, ma'am.
Arran Lake.
Arran Lakes.
It's the one right behind the police station here.
Yes, ma'am. We have identified, and I've got it somewhere in my email, a number of homes and structures which exceed the 50% threshold for repairs. Which means that FEMA will not, they will not be able to be rebuilt back in the way in which they were designed if they are in the floodway or in the floodplain. Aftonshire, is anyone off from Aftonshire, Creek's Edge here? Half of that condo complex is in the floodway, which means it's gonna flood. I mean, that's no other way to put it. The floodplain is in the 100-year floodplain, and we have significant number of properties in there, and I'm thinking 30 total citywide so far, some numbers sticking in my head, which are not going to be able to be rebuilt because it is going to exceed more than half of the value of the property.
So what are they gonna do with the property?
That becomes the issue that we had a meeting this morning with the Governor's Recovery Task Force. They had a meeting this morning at 10 o'clock over at Botanical Gardens downtown. We're going to be seeking North Carolina assistance and trying to get some mitigation monies to buy the properties, convey them to like a public easement and take down the structures. That is for the properties which the owners are unable to rebuild. In a floodway, it is going to be very difficult for you to rebuild. In a floodplain, it could be something as simple as if you've gone to the beach, all the houses are elevated on stilts. I'm not saying that you would see houses on stilts, but they will be elevated above what we call the base flood elevation. So if a base flood elevation in this area is determined to be, let's say, 3 feet from the bottom of the wall here, then if you were going to try to rebuild, you had to elevate that above the base flood elevation. In your area, I'm not aware of any homes that have met that threshold, but I don't have the list with me. There may be some that have met that threshold of 50%. And in those situations, we are really still at the mercy of the state and of FEMA to come back and tell us how they're going to go about assisting those people, either to buy the properties out if people don't have flood insurance, and then what we're going to do with the properties once the properties are bought out. The house is just going to stay there, or someone will take it down, or is it going to be conveyed to an easement? That's the hardest part about this whole process so far. It's a very simple question, and it's a very complicated answer. It's because there's so many moving parts. And I don't have a full answer for you yet as to exactly which properties it's going to be and what the process is going to be for us to buy them out. The City Council on Monday will hear a presentation from staff to reprogram about $900,000 worth of CDBG, Community Development Block Grant funds, as well as some general fund dollars. Those monies are going to be released into the neighborhood, into the city, for low to moderate income homeowners, property owners, and some investors if they're of low to moderate income rental properties, to try to assist people. We believe that HUD will also come through with a further grant sometime in 2017 that will have monies that may allow us as a city to have access to go in and strategically buy out some properties for mitigation purposes as well. But as you can imagine, with more than $10 million worth of road and bridge projects which are damaged by the hurricane, every free dollar we get is having to compete with all of these demands. But again, a very simple question. I don't have a very simple answer for you. Yes, ma'am.
Sir, I have a question. I live right next to that development that you just spoke
Aftonshire.
about, and no one's been in our street. And my house had 5 feet of damage. I lost everything. So they already took out 8 feet.
Wow.
The whole house is nothing but
Michelle.
Yes.
You say you live next to the
Yeah,
creek's
like
edge?
my
The
street,
street before
like
Creek's
if you
Edge?
go through the woods, you can get to our street.
You live on Carnsmore.
Okay,
Yes.
woods.
Yeah,
Carnsmore.
so my
Okay,
house,
so you still got debris over there?
yes, but they've been doing a good job. I went and pushed it closer to the edge.
Okay,
So someone said to put it closer, so I
Sure.
fixed it all up and we
good.
cleaned it up, so,
Did they pick it up yet?
no, not yet.
What street
Okay.
is that again?
Carnsmore and Blairwood, there's a gentleman who has a handicapped daughter. His house is about as bad as mine. Our house are the two worst ones, but no one has come out from
Those folks right next to you live almost
Yeah,
next.
yeah, they're right next to me.
Next door.
But
Okay,
my house
okay.
hits the lowest on the street, so mine had the worst. But no one's come out to see the property. Nobody from the city. Now, do I have to wait for the adjuster to come back? Cause it's gonna be a significant, it's gonna be,
No, you
Almost
just
80
give us your
probably.
address and, you know, we'll make sure. that-
Yeah, we will.
you know,
because
we
no
see
one's,
someone.
no cops, no one's out, no, you know.
Cause we
yeah.
were in
This whole block
Creek's
party,
Edge. I
that
mean,
whole block, yeah, that really peed me off.
Yeah, they
because
were
no
in
one
Creek
came-
Are you
Edge.
behind Creek's Edge on this side or?
Well, if,
Closer to the dam.
yeah, we're right next to the road, the dam, not the dam, the stream, is right next to
So
all
you're
our
uphill
properties.
from Creek's Edge.
Yeah, we're right, like if you walk through the road, hard to
Yeah.
explain.
We're down the
Yeah.
stream.
Downstream. but
So it's
uphill.
in the neighborhood.
I'd like to
Yeah,
come,
right.
I'd like to
Yep.
come over tomorrow morning
Absolutely. You
and,
let me know,
and look
I'll
at
be there.
that and,
Yeah.
just get familiar with the area.
Yeah, absolutely, I'll show you.
There are 3 areas in our neighborhood that have called us, for information, and it's the Carnsmore area, it's the Loch Ness area, and the Carraport area.
Yeah, Loch Ness got hit hard.
Loch Ness got hit hard and Carraport got hit hard.
There's a poor lady showed up at my place yesterday just crying. She's lived there for 40 years and she just doesn't know what.
Now I want to ask you, you did register with FEMA, everyone did, okay. You had flood insurance?
Yes, sir.
Okay, so your adjuster has been out and
I
have
haven't
they?
heard from him yet,
Oh,
so I filed a complaint, cause he
Gonna
came
get
out
back
and
with
that's
you,
it.
right? Did FEMA come in?
now has anyone done an assessment, I guess you're waiting on the adjuster to come out and tell you what the vow, okay.
The adjuster has been there or has not?
Yeah, he has been, yes, sir.
Okay, it'll take,
Oh, he has a couple more days until his
yeah,
60
it'll
days,
take a
then
while for
then
them.
I'll get his boss on the horn.
Yeah, but definitely, we're going to,
It'd just be nice to see somebody come see us.
We'll get you before you.
No, absolutely, yes, sir.
Just check, make sure I check in with you, I'll get your phone numbers if we
No
can. Anyone else, cause I know Rob has also got, some idea, as I mentioned, we had probably $10 million worth of roadway projects. You may have heard or seen, in the newspaper, on television, about Rayconda, which is further down, Rayford Road. Sipple Avenue, was washed out. Over in North Fayetteville, we had Shawcroft, Greenock, which is around the way. We had Mirror Lake, and there's one more I always forget, Offing Drive. And the week before that, we had Sykes Pond. And we're still assessing a lot of our bridges. We had Cool Spring Street in downtown, a building washed all the way through and roadway. So now, if you're familiar with downtown, Ann Street had been gone for about 3 years. And the next cross way between Grove Street and Person Street was Cool Springs, and that also washed out as well, down by I would say St. Evans Metropolitan.
Person Street.
Yeah.
It would help to understand the county owns no roads and streets. Most, if not all, of Fairfield belong to North Carolina DOT. And we have 700 miles of city streets. Okay? That's a lot of streets. A lot of them are damaged, a lot of them on the brink of, if you go down Morganton Road, they actually washed out, didn't quite collapse. And all of those things have got to be reassessed to determine what repairs have got to be done. And this is not easy, because when we talk about assessing the damage to our roads and streets, we got to have engineers that do that, that know what they're doing. I can go out there and say, oh, that looks bad. And it's gonna cost a lot of money to fix it, but you understand what I'm saying? And so the task that Rob has is to get enough engineers to help do these assessments. And it's not a simple matter, they just can't walk out there. Let me give you a case in point. The Strickland Bridge Road is closed from Fisher Road to Dunbar. There's nothing wrong with the bridge. It's a new bridge that was put in about 4 or 5 years ago. But the roadway on this side, on the Rayford Road side of that bridge, water was washing across there, and I was down there looking at it, and it was eroding the soil from underneath the asphalt, right? Okay, simple. Let's dig up the asphalt, pack it down, replace it. Wait a minute. We found out there are 2 water lines there that have got to be moved. Okay? One belongs to Aqua, the other belongs to PWC. So then he's got to get with DOT, because that's their road. They've got to get with PWC, with Aqua, to realign those water lines, and we've got to reconstruct that road in such a fashion that we hope it won't happen again if we get a 100-year flood, whatever. So all of this, as city manager said, the problems are simple. The solutions become very complicated in some instances, okay? But I'll tell you, trust me when I tell you this, because I'm an honest politician, y'all know that.
Look me in the eye.
I won't lie to you, I'll give you the truth of it. You may not want to hear it, but we are moving as fast as we can. The trash debris, we're on a 7-day schedule. We got them on Sunday. Got them working on the roads on Saturdays and Sundays, okay? Trying to get these things. Hope Mills Road is open again.
Yeah.
That's a good thing.
Yes,
But
it
man,
is.
okay, that's open. So we're hopeful that they'll get, when you gonna get Strickland Bridge? 2 more weeks? So we're hopeful to get these things done, get these roads open, to take some of this, because right now you got an excessive amount of traffic on Rayford Road, because there are other roads, you know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
You got people that have to go down to the new Bingham Drive, because they can't cut through the old Bingham Drive. We got all kind of mess going on. So it's time for Rob to talk, because y'all still got to hear from Connie and Lieutenant Oak, and we can't take up all this meeting. Come on, Rob.
We won't be safe, Mr. Christian. I'm not a politician.
They wanna know about Greenock and the dam, and Bingham Drive, old Bingham Drive.
Bingham Drive, I can tell you Bingham Drive, that's a DOT road, and what I've seen on the, and we've got all this information on our website. If you go to our homepage, there's a header up there that you can click on that and should have the updates for it. But last I saw was they thought the estimated opening date for Bingham would be May of this year, so we still got a while for that's gonna be fixed. So,
Yeah, you better fix it because idiots trying to go through it and fall in.
we've seen that, there's not a whole lot we can engineer out of that. Unfortunately, that's the thing, the engineer can't fix.
You can't fix stupid.
That's right.
Not even with that, Judge.
You've been to the edge of that gulf.
That's according to the
That washout.
website. That's the last day we have.
But they're talking May on that, so
Okay.
that's a complicated situation to be remedied, okay? And they just can't go in and patch the dirt in that. That's what's happened in a lot of cases in past years. But when we fix it, we gotta fix it right, or we're just wasting your money. So-
And you said Bingham was DOT,
Yes, the, yes.
and then the Greenock Dam is not DOT?
No, sir, that's a unique situation. We've got a couple of that cases where that is a city-maintained street on a private-owned dam. And so that's,
Yeah, we all wanna hear more about that.
Yeah.
and I've been working, with, unfortunately, I owe Mr. Young, president of the homeowner association, several calls.
Yeah,
He's even stopped by, and I have not had an opportunity to sit down with him and I apologize for that, but, he has been working. I know you had an engineer firm come out and look at and give you some assessments.
Yeah.
And we also, when we initially had the damage, we hired an engineering firm that went to where we had our roads and bridges and looked at it. And so I have a initial assessment. We had a couple of options. there's not an easy answer for it. I think the assessment that we were given to restore the lake, it was somewhere close to $3.8 million. So, I mean, and again, that's.
Was that a private firm they gave you, or?
Yeah, it was, we actually did it with W.K. Dixon. That's who we consulted with to do our initial assessments, so.
Okay, and that was actually restore the lake.
Right, restore the lake, yes, sir. That's, they actually did three options. Is one, just a turnaround, just actually stabilize it and put a turnaround on either side. One of the things about this one compared to some of the other issues we had was there was more than one way in and out of development. Some of our other developments had one road in and it washed out, so that was kind of an emergency situation where we were able to address those. That was our focus initially, was to make sure they had access. What happened at Sipple that Mr. Hewett mentioned was we left that dam breached. We were able to go in there as an emergency and put a culvert in and just repair that, and we were able to do that in about 2 weeks to get that road open, because again, they didn't have any access. They were actually using another dam that was supposed to be for pedestrians only to ferry cars back and forth, so it was very important to get them open. And the third option was to restore the dam. Again, these were just preliminary initial estimates, and this is what we have. That's what FEMA looks for, some items. Again, with the issue with this one is that it was a privately owned dam at a private lake, and so we had a public road on top of the dam. So I know this has happened in the past, and there's some options there how to address that, but unfortunately, the city was not responsible for the dam itself.
So what he's couched in rhetoric,
No, was the city not responsible for maintaining the road over the dam?
Absolutely.
Yes.
Well, I called them 3 times and they've been out and they did a sorry job, I'm sorry to say, about some of the repairs they were doing to it. They came out, said we'll be back, they never showed up. The water going over the back of the dam, they never took care of that problem. And I've got pictures back 3 years. Water standing on that roadway, cracks in that roadway. They never resurfaced that road anymore. And I'm sure that had something to do with the failure.
Well,
The fact that PWC has their sewage line at the break point, almost. So there's lots of issues there.
yes.
And I can tell you, the homeowners cannot pay $3.5 million.
Yeah. Well, I mean, I think that's what it comes down to. There's a lot of other factors that have happened since the dam was originally built. Because when it was built, I mean, we're still county. It was built, as a private. Yeah, we've since been annexed. A lot of changes have happened. A lot of changes upstream have happened. Bingham was widened. George Owen was built. Developments were built up above. With the new Walmart, the new condos, all kinds of asphalt, all kinds of additional runoff has been funneled into that lake. Throughout the years that wasn't originally intended to be in there. So, yeah, it's technically, I guess, still a private dam, but at the same time, there's still somewhat of a dispute in there, because when the city did annex it, they kind of tried to claim that they own the park, they tried to claim that they own the dam, and we had to remind them that, well, it's private. The bottom line is that a lot of things have happened that have contributed to the dam's failure, and so it's kind of unfair to say it's completely the HOA's or Arran Lake's responsibility to get it rebuilt. So yeah, I mean, we really want to work with the city to try to figure out, like you said, those options that are available, and then also see what kind of public funding is out there.
What kind of plans do you have to do out here on Bingham Road?
Again, that's a DOT road.
I mean, when they first did it, widened it and everything else and built all the other roads, I remember going back there in that part after a rainstorm and stuff like that, and I saw where the pavement was washing out.
Yeah.
DOT would come out and throw rocks or marbles or whatever you want to call on top of it. That to me was a warning that, hey, you got something wrong here. Let's back up, take a look, and see what we got. What is happening? It's going to get, it's not going to correct itself. We're going to have to fix it, or, well, Mother Nature took care of it. It redid some landscape.
I actually, I went down and I talked to DOT when they rebuilt Bingham. They said, normally they design a road, and you know this certainly, for a 25-year flood or a 50-year flood or 100-year flood.
10-year flood.
Yeah, so, 10-year flood. So all that, comes down to cost. A 25-year flood road costs, a couple million versus a 50 million, 50-year flood costs 50 million. So what they said actually with that road, and I was talking to the guys that built it at DOT downtown, it's off Gillespie. Yep. And they said that, basically that culvert that they put in was just kind of it was left over. It was left over from another project. So there's no real consideration for, you know, kind of like, I mean, like I said, safety or planning. It was just, I mean, yeah, it's a nice road. It worked, but it wasn't exactly designed with any kind of foresight for, hey, there's a lake below. How much, you know, should the volume of water be that feeds into the lake? Is this too much? Is it too, you know? They said that basically the only thing they cared about was the road itself. They didn't care about anything downstream.
You're talking about the new Bingham.
Yeah, the new Bingham.
Right,
Yeah.
and it's exactly right, when we have a heavy rain, that water would come right down through there, through a culvert, and that's what happened is, that water came down through, if I'm not mistaken, through that culvert under, Old Bingham Road into our lake. That road, that you're talking about, Mr. Young,
Yeah.
is it? That water problem was created, the problem we had on Bingham, which transferred into our lake, which was our dam. Right?
Yeah. Well, I mean, there's a lot of additional water that's been fed into our lake that
And
Right,
not,
I don't think
basically
it's taken into
oversees
consideration.
it.
not only just the lake, it comes off of the new Bingham, the way it, when they widen it back down into other end of Arran Lake, down in the backs of those houses, down into the creek back there, which makes the creeks fill up faster, which makes those houses more of a floodplain type area.
Just an overall plan, I guess, as to.
Well, I got a question, just curiosity. If the dam is owned by the homeowner association and the road is owned by the city,
It's maintained by the city.
main thing, it's not owned?
No, sir. It's not
Okay,
owned.
so we don't want a road, what happens?
I'm not sure I understand what your question
I mean,
is.
we don't want a road on our dam.
I guess
Just
technically,
question, road, no
if
road
you-
on our dam, and do you have an easement for water under that dam? Because Aqua or whoever's already been out there and run their line across there already,
yeah.
and so I guess they just took it upon themselves and said, well, this is what it's supposed to be, it's always been like this is what we can do, but can you?
I'm not, they must have, already have an easement in place to already have their water line there, they need to already have an easement in place.
The water's been off all day at my house, so
Yeah.
Aqua's doing pressure tests.
Well, I guess that comes to the question, and this is probably gonna be an ongoing question, and maybe there's no answer immediately, but when we were annexed in this area, and generally during the process of annexation, the streets are condemned, right? Which means streets that were DOT or whatever become, you know, the 700 miles of streets, whatever their portion is in this neighborhood, basically become owned or maintained by the city, right? So are they owned or
The maintenance-
maintained?
The maintenance of the streets become the responsibility of the city, yes.
Right, so do they own any of the streets then, or they just maintain them?
Just maintain, we do not own the street, it's just simply city maintained.
Okay, so basically, all streets in the city are city maintained and,
Yes, sir.
so whoever, okay, or DOT.
Right,
one of
the
those.
majority, like Mr. Chris said, the majority of the thoroughfares.
But technically, I mean, you know, if we say, you know, but that's what it comes, I mean, you can't prevent, you know, whoever owns the ground underneath the street doesn't really have any rights to that property,
Well,
so
let me
it
get-
becomes kind of
Let
a.
me clarify.
yeah.
If you build a subdivision, and the engineers build streets in there, they build it to code, right? And then we go in and inspect it, we will accept the maintenance of that street, but we don't own it. Okay, we didn't build it, we don't own it, it belongs to the development, or to the engineers, or to the contractors that built that subdivision. It's not a simple process.
No,
So what we do, we don't accept ownership, we accept the maintenance of it if it meets our criteria in terms of safety and the construction of it.
At that given time.
Yes, I got a street, there's a street up there off Fisher Road that they want the city to take and we can't take, it's a beautiful development.
Which one is that?
Merrimack or something
Oh,
like
yeah,
that.
is that the one where the drainage went nowhere?
Yeah, the people here, the problem is, they didn't put enough culverts and drainage in, and we don't know where the drainage went, okay? However, when we researched it, we told them the people, there's only about 40 homes in there. They can't afford $200 and some thousand, right, to fix it. So we said, okay, go after the developer and the builder. Well, the developer and the builder's dead. And the state has been. So then they're sitting there with a street.
Beautiful homes.
One lady has almost concreted her whole yard because from the street it goes down and the water runs into her garage when you get to it.
Oh.
One guy had a mosquito lake in literally a mosquito lake.
So,
Mhm.
this is why we have a unified development ordinance. And we have set some high standards. Now, I'm gonna tell you, a lot of the builders and developers don't like the ordinances that we put in place. But we put these things in place so that we won't continue to have the kind of problem that we're looking at now, infrastructure problem. Neighborhoods, you know, maybe 50 years ago, this was rural Fayetteville, but it's urban Fayetteville now. And so when we build something now, we need curbs and gutters and proper drainage for storm water and sidewalks and
Agreed,
green
yeah.
space for children to play and all. And we're insistent upon that. And
This young
developers-
lady had her hand
Yeah,
up for
she's
a long
had her hand up
time.
for a long time. Let me shut up. Go ahead. You probably forgot what you wanted to ask. You talking?
Mr. President,
Yes, ma'am.
Mr. Stone, City Manager, and Council Wright. I'm listening to all this, what is being said,
Mhm.
but just think about, we have homes over in Arran Lake. The lake is what caused the property damage. Of course, we didn't know all of this when we moved in. I'm talking about the citizen, and I'm going with what this, president said. This is why we need you all help to help us to assess this situation. Now, you're saying the city owns the, not own the road, they maintain the road.
Yes, ma'am.
The dam is where the homeowner's supposed to take care of,
Yes,
correct?
Yes, ma'am.
Now, you know for yourself, ain't no way that these homeowners, we homeowners, to pay 3.8, there should be some
I
plan
understand.
that, what I'm saying, to help us, there should be some grants. That'd be something, somebody to guide us in the way that we can get our lake done. No, I can't understand, don't be telling us that, well, no, if that 3 point, no.
I didn't say.
It's something got to be
I
done.
didn't say we closed the door on it.
Don't close the door, and we need, but I'm not fussing, but I am upset. I'm upset. I'm upset because, you know what I'm saying, that we need some clarification, and I know this is a terrible, situation. But just assure us that somebody is going to help us. Some kind of way on an ongoing basis.
There are a couple of possibilities just on the top of my head.
And
I can think of, and one might be a loan, a low cost loan.
so who's gonna pay for that?
No, the association, long-term loan. This is the possibility. Another possibility is the material service district. That's where you tax everybody that lives there for the purpose of.
They're already
tax
taxed,
money.
they're already taxed higher.
For a specific purpose. It doesn't go to the city. It's managed by the city, but the money is yours. For example, we have, MSD where?
We have an MSD in, in downtown.
Downtown. And they pay like 10 cents more in property taxes, and that money is held exclusively for use by the Downtown Alliance, okay? And they can do things with it. I think we were talking about MSD over there where the Embassy Suite is.
It also has MSD.
All right.
Like,
And so this is a possibility. I'm just telling you, we're gonna look at this thing and see. We're not gonna close the door. I live here. This is my town.
I know, and that's our area.
That's right. That's right. And
Well, my taking is that the city, when they annexed everybody, they annexed the good and the bad.
Yeah.
This is the bad. Now, something needs to be done, because there would not be a house on that lake will sell now. There's already been 2 that have dropped out. They will not sell, and somebody needs to do something about lowering the property taxes on every single one of them.
Well,
They're gonna
Mr.
sit there with stumps out there in the lake.
One point we need to remember, am I correct, that, Mr. Hewett, that we're gonna be reevaluated next year for property tax?
2017.
Yes, sir,
And when we lose 2 access roads to our neighborhood and have lost the lake, we can probably expect to see a decrease in our property taxes. because
well,
of the
I can tell you
reevaluation.
the process that I think the county is going to, the revaluations largely been set. And so when their values come out, you will need to appeal.
And I've done that process.
Yeah, it's not hard,
You know how to do it.
it's not a very hard process.
They pretty much finished that.
But I know the lady in the back as well had a question all the way in the corner.
Just that on Friday we had a sinkhole at the end of our driveway and they did come out and throw gravel in it, but that's also a little concerning to
Yeah.
have, you know,
Sinkholes.
a tire-sized hole appear
Did you? Yeah.
suddenly in the
We read one
asphalt.
too, yeah.
So I just wonder if if it's like water erosion somehow from underneath the ground that, you know, nobody can see, if there's a,
We're seeing a lot of that
Could
across
swallow
the
it
city,
up.
just simply because of the amount of water that was flowing over and
Okay.
over and beyond here. We are seeing that. Even with the flood waters, we also saw an increase in the water table from the groundwater actually rising. And because of that, the groundwater's gonna find voids and it's gonna pop up through the asphalt, and when it finds a weak spot. And what happened is what we can do, we'll have to wait till the water goes down. We'll put gravel or temporary in it until we can get to
right,
it. and
there's
we'll
gravel on the
permanent-
cone there, so
Right,
people
then
won't
we'll
run over
permanently
it.
patch it. And one thing we wanna make sure is there's not a bigger problem there once it's
Well,
shown.
and I live next to Windy, which is on the low end, but the other thing is, it baffles me that I now have a map of the infrastructure of the water. So all of our development, I call it the asphalt land now, up on Skybo, it all kind of channels down into Beaver Creek. And so my thought is that somehow the city fathers or whoever I want to point at, I don't understand how a creek can become the drainage or the lake could be the drainage for the city. Like, isn't there some, you know, I come from a big city on the West Coast, so, you know, I'm not from here. I just know that it just, in my mind, I just cannot understand how it can be okay to continue building, collect the revenue there, asphalt the parking lots. I know now that you guys have them put in holding tanks, but if those holding tanks are full, which I'm gonna say they probably were from the rain before, then it's not gonna go into the holding tank. It's gonna run off the asphalt and down the road.
Right. Rob, explain to her the schedule for DOT with the stormwater and what the plans are and where we are with that and a little bit about the history of the city initially and what's happening now and why we're having the stormwater problem.
A lot of what you're saying is correct. I mean, what we're seeing as you have more development, you have more impervious areas where the water doesn't sink in and it moves across. And in the past, what we have seen is even as we annex, but there was less a focus on stormwater. And so we have a lot of stormwater, historical stormwater type areas that are not handling what they need to be handling. Fayetteville's unique because we're in the sand hills, but there's a lot of topography out there. I mean, there are a lot of rolling hills and there's a lot of tributaries because we are so close to Cape Fear River. That's ultimately where all the water's trying to get to is the Cape Fear River.
Right.
So all your tributaries feed to the river. When you start, just like I said, when you start looking at the amount of development and the different growth, the water is making its way eventually to the Cape Fear River. What we have in this area is we have 15 watershed areas, what we consider watershed areas. And each one of them are along a major, a tributary for the Cape Fear River. We have done, I guess, and I'm not sure the last year when we actually started, but we have done 2 watershed studies since we started with the stormwater utility fee. There's been 2 stormwater studies, and each of those studies cost somewhere between $450,000 and $480,000 to do the study. That's just to get the study to tell you what you need to do to approach that problem that you're recognizing. Out of those 2 studies, we identified about $68 million worth of projects out of those 2 studies. We still have 13 more watershed studies, and that's one of the things. Full disclosure, I've been here now for a year with the city. I actually came from DOT in another part of the state.
So we can blame him.
Absolutely, it's my fault. I'm blaming the guy that was before me, so I'm blaming the better person that's here before me. But one thing DOT on the stormwater side and what Mr. Young said, I mean, what DOT looks at is getting the water off the right of way. That's their focus, is to get the water as quick as it can to clear the road so you don't have flooding on the road. And then the system is designed to take it to the area where it's headed, whether it is a creek or to, sometimes it's to make its way back again. And in this area, it's getting to Cape Fear River. That's the whole point.
Well, Rayford was looking pretty ugly on Saturday. And so,
And see, part of, just like we said, talking about Robinson County, I know we're not in this, but the damage from it's Robinson. It's not Robinson. It's not Robinson. One thing about Robinson County is that the Lumber River is where it collects all their water in the area. The difference between it and the Cape Fear River is a much shallower river. So even the same amount of water just spreads out a lot further, and that's why it takes a lot longer to get the water out. It takes
When
a
you
lot
look at the
longer.
flood stage calculations, the flood stage for us was like 33, and there it was like 12, 14. It was very, very shallow.
when I say Rayford, I was meaning the low place in the road down here that was
Skybar.
washing
This
through.
guy, yeah.
Skybar Rayford.
Yeah, the
And
whole.
what is unique about this last storm we had? Again, we had
Deep coming over
like a
the road.
300 year storm the week before. I mean, that was a once in a lifetime event.
Yeah.
And we were very lucky. I mean, we had flooding in the area. I mean, downtown was flooded. I mean, we had, the signal cabinets that are on the side of the road. We had them underwater, the signal cabinets. And it was unbelievable. The good news was when you're looking at your system, it's working well when the water is gone. When it stopped raining, the water got gone. The problem was that we only lost one road during that event, and we had some overtopping similar to what we had before. Then we turned right around and had the hurricane came and dumped the water on us.
One of the problems here is 60 years ago, if any of you were around here, that was farmland up there in Scotland. And family, the Jason family sold all that for development. So what we had was a rural community here. From Hamar Hill on out, it was not in the city. It was all county, okay? And it was rural. And then development began. And it moved very fast, perhaps too fast, without enough forethought. But I don't know that anybody could have anticipated the problem that we were gonna have with stormwater runoff. Now, for every foot of concrete you lay, you got a foot of stormwater somewhere that's gonna have to be dealt with in time. You understand what I mean? This is what he's talking about when it's impervious and will not seep into the ground. Now with all this water we've had, the water table has risen. We were gonna build a road into Raycon over there and got the bulldozer and that knocked down a few trees, and the bulldozer almost got stuck because the water table was so high, we ended up with a swamp. And they had to haul in tons of dirt. We're still building a road in over there. This is a part of our plans for the future. We talked about the 2 watershed studies. There was a move last year that wanted to increase your stormwater fee. I call it a tax, even though you can't claim fees on the income tax. And I and Larry and others were vehemently opposed to it.
Is that about $43?
Yeah, but I said no, because it didn't make any sense to nickel and dime you when we need $60-some million. So what I'm advocating is for us to do some bonds, not the kind of bonds that you got to vote on as you deal with the Parks and Rec, but we can do some bonds, the city, in maybe $10 million increment and get busy trying to do something about storm water, okay? This is the way we're gonna have to solve it. We're in the middle right now of trying to figure a stormwater plan and how we're gonna attack this, what we're gonna do. We know the cost is gonna be astronomical, and you do too, okay?
So where'd the money come from for those 2 studies?
Through the stormwater utility fee.
Which everybody gets assessed,
Yes.
that $43 or whatever it is.
That's
I like your nice sign up there I said in the first school that said, when it rains, it drains. Well, right on up. You look at every gutter along every highway, you go down George Owen Road,
Yeah.
that's DOT. They've never cleaned the gutter, they've never done anything on that road, and all that water stays on the top. It doesn't go anywhere. So there's some real issues here, and I hate that $43, because I'm not sure I'm getting anything for it.
Well, this is what I just said.
You got a study out of it.
That's why I was vehemently opposed to increasing your stormwater fee, because the money that we have in there is not enough to do what we need to do. And so we gotta think big ticket. We gotta float some bonds.
Well, you even think of the small things, like we live on Paisley, but we live across Greenock from where the lake is. We live on the other end of Paisley. All right, down there where we are, there are no storm drains. And so the water just runs through our yards and takes the yard out with it.
Yeah.
We're gonna have to let y'all get on with your meeting with Connie and Lieutenant Oaks. You got to talk, and your president, and your treasurer, and your secretary. We'll be back. The problem is, y'all meet on nights when we have city council.
Well, y'all need to change your meeting.
Well, Bill, we
Who's
changed
paying-
it once.
who's
We
paying the
changed it
bill?
once to get away from it, and y'all changed it. So.
Yeah, we changed it to accommodate you.
Right.
We can't help it, you changed your meetings.
Here's the thing. You've got to call us, you've got to let us know whether, you've got to be the eyes for all of us. There are 10 people on council. We can't possibly cover this city. We have to rely on you, just like the police department has to rely on you to be the eyes and ears for them. And we need you to talk to us, tell us where the problem areas are, bottlenecks and things. Let me tell you, sometimes we gotta help ourselves. I had my son, he's 55 years old, something like that. I had him out there cleaning 2 drains on my street last week.
Yeah, Bill's character.
No, because, well, I don't know about that, but, and he did it willingly. Because that we gotta clean those drains out if we want